Hello everyone, welcome back. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So right now, President Joe Biden is pushing for two major changes to Social Security benefits, to which Americans could actually really get behind, according to recent polling. Also, Joe Biden created yet another executive order. This one is going to cause some Americans to pay an extra $40 per month at least. And finally, we're also going to be going over some recent comments made by House Speaker Kevin McCarthy about their upcoming vote this week in regards to raising of the debt ceiling. Now, before I dive into the main content of today's video, if you wouldn't mind helping me out real quickly by just giving this video a like, that just helps out with the good old YouTube algorithm, and also consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. Okay, so according to the Washington Times, Biden to hike payments for good credit home buyers to subsidize high-risk mortgages. So home buyers with good credit scores will soon encounter a costly surprise, a new federal rule forcing them to pay higher mortgage rates and fees to subsidize people with riskier credit ratings who are also in the market to buy houses. The fee changes will go into effect May 1st as part of the Federal Housing Finance Agency's push for affordable housing, and they will affect mortgages originating at private banks across the country. The federally backed home mortgage companies, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, will enact the loan level price adjustments, or LLPAs. Mortgage industry specialists say homebuyers with credit scores of 680 or higher will pay, for example, about $40 per month more on a home loan of $400,000. Homebuyers who make down payments of 15% to 20% will get socked with the largest fees. So basically, Biden's idea here is to make housing more affordable for people with lower credit scores, which of course a lot of experts point this could actually end up hurting them as well as the housing market in the end. And they point towards the 2007 housing crash, which made housing easier to get into, easier to get a loan if you're a lower credit score buyer, which then could cause perhaps another housing crash. So we'll have to wait and see. It's definitely not fair for those Americans who worked extremely hard to build high credit scores over time, and now they're going to have to pay more per month than those with lower credit scores. But let me know what you think about that in the comment section below. But we're going to be moving on to another topic here. These are going to be the two big changes that Joe Biden wants to make to Social Security, hopefully by the end of 2024. We'll have to wait and see. So according to the Motley Fool, Joe Biden wants to make this big Social Security change, and most Americans could be on board with it. So Biden's big change: when Biden campaigned for president in 2016, he proposed several benefit increases for Social Security recipients. For example, he wanted to boost the benefits for older Americans who had been retired for at least 20 years. He also sought to increase the minimum benefit, allowing surviving spouses to receive higher benefits, and eliminate penalties for public sector workers. However, the biggest Social Security change in Biden's plan was to ask Americans with especially high wages to pay the same taxes on those earnings that middle-class families pay. In particular, he proposed increasing the payroll tax cap to $400,000. This cap is currently $160,200. Now, as president, of course, he wants to actually make it so those who earn more than $400,000 per year have to pay the Social Security payroll tax, the 6.2 to 12.4%. So another survey conducted by the University of Maryland's Program for Public Consultation last year also looked good for Biden. The PPP survey found that 81% of respondents supported the proposal to apply payroll taxes to all income over $400,000 to fund Social Security. Importantly, the idea received bipartisan support, with 79% of Republicans and 88% of Democrats in favor. So if they were to do something like this, this is something that both sides of the aisle could get behind in regards to raising the Social Security payroll tax to those high earners. And if you're doing this, this is going to bring more money into the Social Security Trust Fund and make it solvent for a longer period of time. And perhaps you could even raise benefits as well, perhaps as much as $200 per month. And that was another thing that Joe Biden promised he would do whenever he came into the presidency back in 2021. So we're going to be looking at another poll. This is another big change that Biden said he would make. To this point, he has not made it. They haven't even voted on the Social Security Expansion Act yet. We'll just have to wait and see if they do. But this is another poll here. Voters strongly support the Social Security Expansion Act. So you can see that out of all likely voters, 47% of Americans strongly support that bill of increasing benefits by $200 per month, and 31% of Americans somewhat support it. We can look at the Democrat and Republican support. Even the Republicans, 72% of Republicans strongly support or somewhat support that bill, and out of Democrats, it's even more at 85% of Democrats strongly supporting or somewhat supporting that bill of increasing benefits by $200 per month, and then a whole host of other things that bill would do as well. So that's the second idea, the second change that Biden said he would make. To this point, he has not, but that's another thing that they could definitely be getting behind. Now, moving into some other news, at some point this week, the House Republicans are going to be voting on the bill to raise the debt ceiling. Kevin McCarthy has been wanting to negotiate with Joe Biden in making spending cuts in exchange for raising of the debt ceiling. To this point, Joe Biden has refused to sit down with the House Speaker to negotiate on these ideas. And actually, people in his own party are beginning to call him out for not sitting down with McCarthy and negotiating. So Joe Manchin, for example, has come out and said that Joe Biden needs to sit down and work something out with the House Speaker. If you're the leader of this country, if you're the leader of the free world, and you're refusing to even sit down with the Speaker of the House to negotiate on these ideas, I mean, what are you doing in office? So according to the New York Post, Manchin slams Biden, praises McCarthy proposal, and a debt limit standoff. So Senator Joe Manchin blasted President Biden on Thursday for refusing to negotiate with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy over the nation's fast approaching debt ceiling crisis, while praising the Republican leader for putting out a proposal to cut federal spending. He said, quote, "While it is reasonable to sincerely disagree with any specific debt ceiling approach, we will achieve a historic default and the economic whirlwind which follows if President Biden continues to refuse to even negotiate a reasonable and common sense compromise." To that end, I applaud Speaker McCarthy for putting forward a proposal that would prevent default and rein in federal spending. While I do not agree with everything proposed, the fact of the matter is that it is the only bill actually moving through Congress that would prevent default. The West Virginia Democrat noted that 78 days have passed since Biden met with McCarthy to discuss the debt ceiling, a delay that he said showed a deficiency of leadership. So yesterday on Sunday, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy met on Fox News where he had an interview. He talked about what was in the debt ceiling bill and whether or not he had enough votes for it to pass. Watch.
Right now, the national debt is at $31.7 trillion, with interest alone on that debt of more than $500 billion. Under this proposal from House Republicans, the national debt ceiling would be raised by $1.5 trillion, while spending levels would be rolled back to 2022 levels. The bill would also impose a 1% cap on future spending, claw back unused COVID-19 money, cancel IRS funding for new staff, and repeal green tax credits from the Inflation Reduction Act. Do you feel that you have the votes? Here's what Larry Lindsay writes from the Lindsay Group. Biden does have some unlikely allies. A handful of House Republicans are withholding support from the McCarthy plan. McCarthy has only a 5-seat majority, so you need almost every vote. Do you have the votes to pass this in the House this upcoming week?
Ray, we do have a very small majority, only 5 seats, one of the smallest we've ever had. But I cannot imagine someone in our conference that would want to go along with Biden's reckless spending. This is responsible. This is something that we have sat down for months, that everybody's had input in. It's not where everybody gets 100% of what they want. But when we send this to the Senate, we're showing that, yes, we're able to raise the debt ceiling into the next year. But what we're doing is we're being responsible fiscally and bringing our house back in order. It doesn't solve all of our problems, but it gets us on the right path. And this gets us to the negotiating table just as government and America expects us to do.
So again, it's going to be real interesting to see how all this plays out. Republicans are saying that we need to cut federal spending in order to raise the debt ceiling. Democrats and Joe Biden are refusing to even negotiate. They said that we're going to be raising the debt ceiling without making any spending cuts. So it's going to be kind of a game of chicken. And once again, we're going to have to raise the debt ceiling at some point later on this summer. Otherwise, we are going to default on our debts as a country, something that we definitely don't want to do. So we'll just have to wait and see how all of this plays out. But that's all the news that we have for today's video. I certainly hope that you enjoyed. If you did, again, I would greatly appreciate if you could give this video a like. Consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. And I will see you in the next video.